quite ripe. This last week we discussed many different things like the school board unionization and public versus private schools. And just like this isn't quite yet ripe yet, I think we're not quite ripe yet for a change in our public school system, but we're going to be there pretty soon. It is ripe time for discussion, though. That's quite detestable. We need to reconsider how we define public school. Public school is kind of a vehicle that has been modified for everybody. And sometimes that one vehicle just doesn't fit everybody's style or preference or specifically educational needs. I think about the school system as a vehicle, a multi-purpose vehicle, if you will, that is trying to adapt itself for everybody. But sometimes you just need a type of sport car to get you from A to B. And other times you need a pickup truck.
Sometimes you also need a quad or an ATV to get around the different terrains.
Sometimes you also just need a horse. Vintners who make wine have been working with grapes probably their whole life, or even if it hasn't been their whole life, they get to know their subject, their fruit, extremely well. Just in the same way that students have different talents, why don't we, as Ken Robinson says, expand on those talents? Why do we stifle creativity with a public school system that forces kids to learn in specific ways rather than let them explode into the areas of interest? And if they want to make wine, for example, why not let them work with grapes, learn everything about the horticulture and all that goes into it? If we were to think about school in terms of wine, you could say that public school is like Franzia. It'll get the job done, and it works okay. But Franzia is also the last pressings of the grapes. It's not as fruit forward or full bodied as you might have when you experience a Premier Grand Cru class wine or something of this sort. It's not that there's anything wrong with public school. Public school is everything right. However, it's how we implement it that perhaps is wrong. Wrong, it's a 20th century model. It's old, it's based on pedagogies that we first learned of 100 years ago. We need to update those. We're talking about 21st century learners in class, so why do we teach them in a 20th century model? Students have different learning types, and we can reach them in different ways. And why not harness that energy, that creativity that, again, Ken Robinson talked about a few weeks ago, and really develop it? Why don't we do that? Well, as we talked about on Wednesday, teachers' unions stifle that potentially at a national level. As we see, they're too involved in political campaigns and less involved in pedagogy and directly affecting schools, more concerned with teachers' salaries and contracts. As they should be. I'm concerned about it. All that to say, as we think about moving into the 21st century, we need to think about how we can reach them at a school and broader level. I became personal friends with the director of the Idlewild Fine Arts Academy. He was there for 30 years. And the students at his academy were often flunkies and dropouts of the normal public school system. They were loners. Why? Because they were artistic and they didn't fit into the traditional public school model. So they went to a fine arts academy where they flourished. They were amongst people like themselves, and they excelled with their instruments, with their art, and they went on to universities, to Juilliard most of the time, or New York University, becoming some of the folks that you see on stage today. One of them, artist, his name is Nate Lohman, and also, what was his name? Shepard. He was the gentleman who came up with a company called Obey, and also was the one who designed the Obama Hope poster. That was him. And they were products of this school. If imagine if we had all schools like that, where we could really accelerate students' learning in the things that they're passionate about. It would be incredible to see what we come up with.